Well, good evening and a very warm welcome to the third in our series of webinars with the Royal Mint, harnessing the power of platinum. Delighted to have so many of you along with us this evening on what is, of course, St. George's Day. If you haven't noticed, we at the Royal Mint just today have launched the new St. George and the Dragon Bullion coin range. So after this webinar, if you fancy having a browse of our website, you can check out the new range there on what is a momentous day for us. So yeah, we'd encourage you to go and take a look. But that is, of course, not why we are here. We are here for the third webinar in our series, Harnessing the Power of Platinum. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were joined, of course, by John Reed of the World Gold Council. And Stuart O'Reilly of the Royal Mint to delve into the investment case for gold. Prior to that, we had Michael Dorenzo from the Silver Institute join us, as well as we looked at silver as an asset class in a bit more detail as well. And if you do want to check those two out, you can, of course, see a recording of those two webinars, which is available on the Royal Mint's YouTube channel now. This week, of course, platinum is in the spotlight as we understand how it can play a pivotal role in your investment portfolio. We've had an incredibly busy time at the Royal Mint, and we've shown an increase in sales of platinums during the first quarter of this new calendar year, with the total weight of platinum sold via the website up by 53%. So a pertinent time to be talking about it compared to the same quarter last year. A bit of housekeeping before I introduce today's speakers. The webinar is recorded today, so if you miss anything or you want to recap on any of the key topics that were discussed, you can catch it on the Royal Mint's YouTube channel afterwards. Also, if you, of course, wish to share it with any friends or those that might be interested in investing in platinum in the future. A reminder, you can, of course, follow us on social media at Royal Mint UK, and we'd encourage you to visit our website as well. When you get a chance to look at any market news that we share on the website too, which will hopefully help you inform any of your investment decisions in the future. We can obviously be having talks from our two speakers this evening, but following that, I will conduct a bit of a Q&A as well. So please do feel free and don't be shy about dropping any questions into the chat as we go along. There's been a few that have been submitted prior to the webinar, but please, if you spot anything you'd like to know a bit more about, please do drop that in there. And then, of course, if the questions do go unanswered, we do have an account management team available following the webinar, which will pick up any questions and hopefully get in touch with you after that. But of course, the reason why we're here, I'm going to introduce our two speakers. Shortly, we'll hear from the Royal Mint Market Insights analyst, Stuart O'Reilly. But first, I'm delighted to say that we're joined by the World Platinum Investment Council's Director of Research, Edward Stirk, to understand the asset's role in a diverse investment portfolio. So I'll hand across to you, Edward. Thank you very much for joining us.
Super. Well, Toby, thank you for the opportunity to speak and inviting me to participate. It's much appreciated. So, look, firstly, the kind of normal disclaimer: we're not authorised to give any investment advice. So this is just purely background information for you all. Now, I thought I'd start on the next slide by describing a little bit about who we are at the World Platinum Investment Council, or WPIC, as an organisation. We were founded back in 2014 by the 6 leading PGM mining companies in South Africa. Our membership now stands at 5 South African companies and 1 from Brazil, 1 from Australia. And effectively, we're tasked with the mandate of helping to develop investment interest in platinum. We do that in a couple of different ways. So firstly, we provide sort of actionable insights like the discussion points we're going to be going through today. And we also supply research analysis and engage with investors. In terms of market development, as you'll see on the next slide, we partner with a number of different mints, refineries, bullion dealers, and so on around the world. These are called our product partners, and the Royal Mint would be a very fine example of an esteemed example of a product partner for us. And we help effectively these product partners design, produce, market, and sell platinum investment products around the world. So these are bars and coins like those produced by the Royal Mint. And that's predominantly to a retail investor audience. But we also, as you'll see on the next slide, engage with institutional investors as well. So I'm in charge of our institutional investor engagement effectively in terms of producing research product that's all available for free on our website. And I use this in going around the world and speaking to hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds and the like, and just provide them with information about the platinum market and help increase information liquidity so that at the right time they're better educated to make quick investment decisions. Now, obviously, the focus today is on platinum, but we do talk to the other PGMs as well. So platinum, the platinum group metals, or the PGMs, is a collection of 6 different metals. Platinum is obviously the best well known of them, but you've also got palladium, rhodium, and then the more minor ones, which would be ruthenium, iridium, and osmium. And they've all got their own unique attributes which feed into the overall market dynamics. Moving on to the next slide, please. So firstly, what is platinum? It's a metal that you can invest in. It's the rarest precious metal in the world, 20 times less available than gold and 100 times rarer than silver. It's a store of value. It's also got important industrial uses, and I'll go through those in a bit more detail in a moment. And I think crucially, it's also a critical metal for tackling the climate crisis. So it very much feeds into the energy transition story, and it's also infinitely recyclable. So the circularity of the circular economy is also something that's important, and platinum fits well within that concept. Why invest in platinum? Well, at the moment, we see pretty robust demand. We've also got a shortage of supply. So supply is incredibly price inelastic. And platinum is also very undervalued, as you'll see, particularly against gold at the present time. Moving on to the next slide, please. And this just illustrates what I was speaking to. So if you look at the left-hand chart here, you can see annual production of silver is 100 times that of gold, of platinum. Platinum is the blue area of the column chart, so you can just about make out at the bottom. Gold production annually is about 20 times that of platinum. And yet, if you look at the right-hand chart, you can see that since around 1880, platinum has on average traded at twice the price of gold. But in the last few years, we've obviously seen that reverse given the strength in the gold price. And platinum has not yet responded to that in the same way that it would normally have done so in the past. So we think that platinum is fundamentally undervalued at current levels. Moving on to the next slide, please. So this is just a high-level overview of our platinum supply-demand outlook. So the balances we see in the market, and as you can see, for the foreseeable future, we are forecasting a platinum market that's in a deficit. So this is effectively a situation where supply is inadequate to satisfy demand. Normally, what you'd expect in a market in a deficit is to see price change to the point where you'd see either destruction of demand or to a level that it would incentivize new supply to come into the market. So effectively higher prices to achieve those goals. The challenge for platinum is that it's very price inelastic in terms of mine supply. It's predominantly deep level mines that are very hard to flex in terms of output. And most demand end uses are also fairly well embedded. As things stand at the moment, then, the market is being balanced by a drawing down of above ground stocks. And we think that over the course of this year in particular, we're seeing those stocks fall to unsustainably low levels. And so therefore, the ability for those stocks to continue to balance the market going forward is something that is called into question. Moving on to the next slide, please. As I said, we haven't seen a significant platinum price response so far in contrast to gold. I'd say that at the moment, gold's perhaps a bit of a is really the kind of outlier at the moment. We're seeing a global trend away from a number of long-term assets in terms of particularly sort of things like reserve currencies, and clearly, gold is something that feeds into the investment sort of landscape as an alternative to reserve currencies. Platinum in the past has traded in a very similar way to gold, but right now it hasn't reacted in the same way that in recent years. What I would observe is that the price has been largely range bound between roughly sort of $900 an ounce and $1,100 an ounce for the last four years or so, but that range is beginning to pinch out. And so at some point, we think the tapering of that price range is likely to result in the price breaking out of that range. And clearly with the deficits that we're forecasting, we would expect that price response to be positive. Moving on to the next slide, please. So just a quick overview of the platinum market. It is somewhat more similar to silver in terms of you've got your precious attributes, but you've also got some industrial end uses. Before getting on to that, just starting with mine supply, which is on the left-hand side of this flow diagram, you can see that supply is very geographically concentrated. So South Africa makes up 70% of global platinum supply, and Russia is 11%. The rest coming from Zimbabwe, some smaller mines in North America, and then kind of various parts of the rest of the world is very minor. And that means that it's very beholden to sort of geopolitical risks. And right now we're seeing quite a lot of friction between different countries around the world, including actually, interestingly, between the US and between the South African government for reasons that are probably too complicated to go into right now. But certainly there is a risk of trade disruption, which would potentially result in distortion of the platinum markets and some kind of price response. In terms of demand, roughly 45% of platinum's demand is in automotive applications. This is predominantly catalytic converters for internal combustion engine vehicles or hybrid vehicles. And so the electrification of the drivetrain going forward is quite key in terms of understanding future demand dynamics. Jewelry makes up about 25% of demand. Platinum is well known as a jewelry product. This is an area where actually I see the potential for quite significant upside given the high price of gold. And the fact that this is pricing consumers out of gold, and actually it's having an effect on the retailers and fabricators as well. And so platinum is potentially a beneficiary of that in terms of demand growth. Then you've got industrial demand. This is kind of a catch-all for everything except for automotive, jewelry, and investment demand. And this is including things like catalysts for petroleum refineries, medical applications, green hydrogen, which I'll come on to in a bit more detail in a second. So a myriad of end uses. I think the key thing to emphasize is that if we think about the overall demand profile for platinum, excluding jewelry and investment demand, more than 80% of its end uses go towards reducing harmful emissions or reducing energy requirements, which also ultimately helps reduce harmful emissions. The important thing to highlight here from an industrial demand perspective, and also for the other end uses, is that circularity. So you can see the recycling aspect and how key that is to the overall supply picture for platinum as well. And then finally, we have platinum investment, and that's what we're here to talk about today. And this can include everything from bars and coins to ETFs and other end uses. Next slide, please. So in terms of the demand outlook, actually at the moment it is largely flat, which I think from an automotive perspective is surprising. Although we see continued growth of battery electric vehicles in our forecasts, there are end uses for platinum within the automotive industry that sustains the demand there. Jewelry demand, as I said, at the moment we've got a fairly flat outlook for jewelry demand, but I could see significant growth upside from current levels. Next slide, please. And then just on that topic of battery electrification, this is really just an observation, but the height of the columns is the battery electric vehicle market penetration rates on the left-hand side, and then hybrid vehicle market share on the right. And you can see that consumers are pushing back against full battery electrification. We're seeing a slowdown in the rate of growth of battery electric vehicles, but overall hybrid electric vehicles, which do contain PGMs, are continuing to accelerate. And that helps sustain demand for longer in the automotive industry. And then finally, moving to the next slide, just a quick note on green hydrogen. So it's a nascent industry. It's a bit like the battery electric vehicle industry 12 years ago or so. So growing off a small base. But the key thing to emphasize is that in terms of the total market for platinum at the moment, it's about 8 million ounces a year. In terms of our forecasts for green hydrogen and how that feeds through into future demand for platinum, you can see that we're getting up to over 700,000 ounces of demand by 2030, so approaching around 9% of total demand. And looking further ahead into the 2030s, green hydrogen becomes the biggest end market for platinum by far. So very much an energy transition metal, as I said, and something that plays into global decarbonisation. So in summary then, it's a rare metal. It is a store of value, but it also has important applications in terms of decarbonisation. And for the foreseeable future, we think the market will remain in a deficit, and at some point that will translate into sort of price activity. With that, I'll thank you and pass you back over to Toby.
Thank you very much, Edward. That was fascinating, and I certainly hadn't realised quite the sort of scarcity of platinum by comparison to that of gold. So that was really interesting. So thank you very much. So we will pass over to Stu now. You can give us a bit more of an in-depth look into the Royal Mint, and also the fact that we obviously offer platinum alongside silver and gold for our precious metals investment channel. So I'll hand across to Stuart O'Reilly.
Yeah, thank you, Toby, and thank you, Edward. That was a really great summary, I think. And I would just really urge everybody listening to check out the World Platinum Investment Council's website. The kind of volume, the range, and the accessibility, I think, of the research that they put out is brilliant. It's a really great resource for anybody thinking about investing in platinum. In terms of the Royal Mint, though, in terms of precious metals, gold and silver have both circulated in circulating coins in the UK. Platinum obviously has never been in circulating coins. That wasn't always necessarily going to be the case. The first references to platinum in European writings was in the 16th century. And it took us almost 300 years to really notice the uses of platinum. And in the 1820s, we began experimenting with platinum as a metal for coins. We used old dies, so there was no actual legal coins made out of it, but the guys at the mint, I guess, were experimenting with old dies so that they wouldn't break, so that no coins could accidentally leak into circulation. I think the result of those experiments was actually platinum was too hard as a metal. It's very dense for us to put into coinage at the time, so we abandoned that. And then about 50, 60 years later, we encountered counterfeit sovereigns. So sovereign coins are obviously gold, but we were coming across sovereign coins that were made of a mix of platinum and copper, and then gold plated. So there was some kind of experiments at the time at the mint to try and figure out what was going on, who was making them, and what we could do to combat that. Thankfully, that seems to have died out, and it's also now very difficult to counterfeit modern bullion coins. But the first UK legal tender platinum coins were issued in 2004. There's a picture of one on the left-hand side there. That is the Entente Cordiale commemorative coin. 501 of those were made, and that was the first time that platinum was ever used in a UK coin. And the first platinum bullion coins from the Royal Mint came into existence in 2017. We started with the Queen's Beasts range of coins with the Lion of England, and then followed up shortly after with Platinum Britannias. And the big moment, I guess, for us in terms of platinum came in 2022, which was obviously the year of the Platinum Jubilee, so the first Platinum Jubilee in British history. And in terms of bullion, we saw platinum customer base rise by almost a third during that time, and customers on the commemorative side of the business as well, could access lots of different platinum products, including platinum versions of the circulating coins in your pocket. So I think 30 sets of those are made of the definitive coins of the time in 2022. And in the same year, we produced the world's largest platinum coin, which I think still holds the record for the world's largest platinum coin. And you can see a picture of it at the bottom there. It's about 15 centimeters in diameter, and it contains 2 kilos of platinum. It was obviously created to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, and only 7 were ever destined to be made. 2 of which I know that we have still at the Royal Mint. I've been to see them today. They look absolutely incredible. So they are available if people want to buy those very, very rare coins from the Royal Mint, and a world record breaker as well. So if you do want to buy those, by the way, I'd advise that you go royalmint.com/invest, and you'll see on there you can book an appointment, and you'll get through to Toby and his team. You can go on to the next slide. So these are some kind of trends that we're seeing in terms of the platinum market. The Royal Mint has always been a big player in the platinum bullion coin market, and today a third of the newly minted platinum bullion coins sold around the world were produced by the Royal Mint. The vast majority of those will be Platinum Britannias, and in fact, outside of North America, almost 3/4 of platinum coins sold, or new platinum coins sold, are produced by the Royal Mint. And we have seen some recent kind of surges in demand for platinum. So you can see there 23% increase in customers buying platinum from our website in the first 3 months of 2025 compared to the same period in the previous year. and the volume or the weight of the digital platinum products, so the ounces of platinum we've sold via digital platinum, was up 133% year on year in the first first 3 months of 2025, and that is mirrored kind of right across lots of the metrics that we measure: number of customers, number of orders. All of that is up in Q1 2025. And then I thought I'd add this slide in because this is something that happened yesterday, in fact. So obviously we're recording this on the 23rd of April, but yesterday on the 22nd of April, this measure, the gold to platinum ratio, exceeded 3.5 for the first time since we've been able to measure it in 1990. So this measure essentially looks at the London Bullion Market Association prices for gold and for platinum and works out, well, how many ounces of platinum can I buy with 1 ounce of gold? And you can see there for most of the past sort of 35 years, it's been, one less than one. And then from the kind of 2010s, gold becomes more expensive than platinum. Platinum is not as expensive as gold per ounce. But recently, due to the kind of soaring gold price, 1 ounce of gold could now buy 3.5 ounces of platinum just at kind of raw metal value. Is that a useful metric? I don't know. Some people like to value precious metals in that way, relative to gold. But if you did think that was a useful metric, you would probably assume, looking at that platinum is undervalued versus gold, or gold is overvalued, versus platinum, one or the other. There's obviously lots of other factors that play into that, but I thought it was interesting. That was the first time in history that has happened, so I thought I'd flag that. And if you want to access platinum products from the Royal Mint and invest in platinum, one of the most popular ways of doing that is to buy platinum bullion coins. The advantage of buying bullion coins in the UK is that they are capital gains tax exempt for UK residents because they are legal tender coins. So it has to be a UK coin, it has to be UK legal tender. So anything that is a UK coin, including Britannia's, including the 2 kilo Britannia's on one of the previous slides, would be capital gains tax exempt for UK taxpayers. The most popular coin in the platinum range is definitely the Britannia. It's the standard bullion coin of the Royal Mint. It's the flagship product. And you can buy 10th ounce coins and you can buy 1 ounce coins. And you can buy those in blisters or in capsules. The blister's quite nice as it holds the product and has a bit of information about the weight and the purity and the signature of the Deputy Master of the Mint on there as well. I should also flag that the next platinum product that we'll be launching is the Royal Tudor Beast range. The Greyhound of Richmond will be the next product in that range, and that'll come out later this year. If coins aren't your thing, though, we do produce platinum bullion bars. So the example here you can see is the 1 ounce platinum bullion bar. 1 ounce really is the standard weight in the platinum bullion industry. In fact, for gold and silver on a retail level at least. Those bars individually serialized. They come in the packaging you can see there, and they feature Jodie Clark's incredible Britannia design. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. And obviously, the third option for Royal Mint customers is digital platinum. So when we say digital platinum, it's just a way of describing how you can hold and trade that product. The product is fully physically backed by good delivery platinum bars. So those bars are held in the Royal Mint's vault. You can see a bar list on our website to verify that we do in fact hold platinum bars. It will give you the manufacturer's name and the serial numbers on those bars. And the advantage of that product is it allows you to invest from as little as £25. But the key thing that is driving interest in that product particularly is that there is no VAT on the purchase of digital platinum. So with platinum coins and with platinum bars, in the UK at least, you would have to pay VAT. But on digital platinum, there is no VAT on the purchase. There is a VAT element added to the storage charge, which you can see there is 0.5% of the value per year. And we add VAT to that. That is the requirement from HMRC, but the buy and the sell completely VAT free, which makes that product particularly attractive. And I think that's everything. I would really urge you to make use of Edward's time. As I said earlier, the output of the World Platinum Investment Council is fantastic for anybody considering platinum.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Stu, as well. As I said at the start, if you do have any questions for Stuart or Edward as part of this section, I do urge you to pop them in the chat down there, and I will get them read out and answered. We do have a couple already, if you don't mind. The first one, if I can ask this of you, Edward, the dreaded T word, the tariff situation, and how that is impacting, you feel, that the platinum market at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. So I mean, look, the immediate impact is we've just seen quite a large flow of metal into the US. So effectively, the fear that tariffs would come in and that platinum, as well as other metals as well, and other commodities, would be captured within that tariff regime, dragged a lot of metal into the US ahead of the kind of formal announcements. And so that's created a bit of a sort of shortage of metal in Europe. We've seen some technical indicators suggest there's a lot of market tightness around. But in the longer term, the tariff impacts could be broader than that. So the automotive imports into the US are subject to a 25% tariff. That cost is effectively likely to be passed on to the US consumer, at least in part. But the negative impacts of that would be fairly short term in nature. So maybe a year to 18 months for supply chains to reorganize. And certainly there's ongoing efforts to try and get exemptions for different countries and things like that. More broadly, tariffs are not particularly good for global growth, so there is a GDP risk to things. We've risked this with regards to our outlook for platinum and those platinum market deficits that I showed on the slide earlier. Now, in actual numbers, our deficit for this year is 848,000 ounces. There is no scenario that we can envisage in terms of sort of damage to global GDP that would significantly reduce that deficit towards a market being imbalanced. So on our kind of risk assessment, on a worst case scenario, we still see the platinum market remaining in deficit, and that's likely to persist for the foreseeable future.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And you mentioned, Edward, as part of your slides, the sort of range upon which we're seeing the platinum price at the moment. We had a question around price fluctuation, volatility, and you mentioned the possibility of a price breakout as well due to the supply shortage. What do you think that volatility is down to at this moment in time?
Well, I think there's a few things. So, firstly, there is if you talk to people in the market, people are generally quite constructive towards the outlook for platinum. But in terms of the activity we see in the futures market, right now it's been quite heavily dominated by sort of algorithmic trading activity. And so that in a way is algorithmic trading houses effectively looking to keep platinum within the trading range, because that's what they see as being the pattern. And so their behavior is effectively acting to actually, in a way, kind of keep platinum locked in for the time being until we see a catalyst that breaks it out of that range. Arguably at the moment, I think the rapid depletion of above ground stocks is probably going to be that catalyst. We are approaching unsustainable levels, and so we would expect price to react accordingly. It's also worth noting that volumes overall in many markets, futures, options, the ETFs, and so on, have doubled over the last 4 years. And so to me, that kind of suggests there is strong two-way competition for price direction, which is maybe also feeding into this volatility. So, arguably, that volatility is a precursor to a sort of price move of some description.
Stu, did you have a further comment? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd just say on that, I think that there has been some volatility in the platinum price. I think if you looked at it kind of middle of February and then reviewed the price again kind of early April, it dropped by, I think, over 10%, the platinum price in dollars. It has since come back up. And I think volatility means two things, right? It means that there is risk in that investment, and it means there is opportunity in that investment. It depends on when you buy and when you decide to sell. But I think the other thing on that is that stocks and shares at the moment are pretty volatile. Gold, even traditionally seen as a kind of stable asset in terms of the price, has been pretty volatile. Certainly since the tariff announcements. So yeah, there's risk there and there's opportunity there. It just depends on timing and I guess what you want to get out of the investment as well.
Thank you very much, Stu. Thank you, Edward. Well, if we stick with yourself, Stu, and a couple of questions, I guess, more related to the Royal Mint. One we had, is there a benefit or difference, and this is a question actually that pops up through my channel at the Royal Mint as well. Is there a benefit or difference to buying, say, tenth of an ounce Platinum Britannia to that of 1 ounce from your perspective?
So obviously, as with most things, you will tend to see economies of scale. So if you buy a larger platinum product, almost the same amount of manufacturing work has gone into creating that product as a smaller product. So you will see the economies of scale there. The premium, which is the amount above the metal price that we will charge on those products, will tend to be lower as a percentage on a larger product like a 1 ounce coin than it would on a smaller product like a 1/10 of an ounce coin. But then obviously the flip side of that is the liquidity of that product. So you can always sell those coins and bars and DigiGold, of course, DigiPlatinum, of course, back to the Royal Mint. But if you were looking to sell privately, you might find more buyers at a lower price point than you would at a higher price point. So it depends on what you want to get out of that product and what your plan is for selling it.
Thank you. And you touched on the vault as part of your presentation, Stu. Obviously, that facility is available. It's obviously where we hold these platinum bars that back up our DigiGold product, and obviously customers can store their own physical allocation of coins, bullion bars with us as well. Do customers have access to that within the vault themselves, or could they book an appointment if they did want to come down and see their precious metals in the vault?
I think it'd be great if they could, from a kind of marketing angle, or from just to see the metal held within the Royal Mint's vault. Unfortunately for customers, you can't book an appointment to see the vault, and there's very good reasons for it. This is a very secure site at the Royal Mint. That vault was built in the kind of height of the Cold War when the Ministry of Defence were protecting the site of the Royal Mint. It is built to the US government's kind of top specification for a vault. It is super secure. Most people who work at the Royal Mint won't even know where the vault is, let alone how to get into it. So that is all done to ensure that the customers' assets are protected. And so yeah, unfortunately, you can't visit the vault. But as I said, you can see a bar list of the bars that back up digital platinum. And if you have holdings in the vault, you will be able to see those on your Royal Mint account and sell those back at any time.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then just finally, and this is something that's sort of come up, Edward, if you don't mind, in all of our webinars, you mentioned above the ground stocks of platinum being at a shortage at the moment. That can obviously have an impact on the price. How much platinum has been mined and how much still remains to potentially be mined?
Yeah, thanks, Toby. I mean, I have to admit, I don't know what the number
Exact
is.
figures.
Yeah, for all time. But I mean, if you imagine those sort of diagrams that people put up of different sized metal cubes for or how many Olympic swimming pools you could fill. I think it's something like 2 Olympic swimming pools you could fill with all of the gold that's ever been mined. And for platinum, it would probably just come up to your ankles. So that gives you kind of an idea of the quantum of how much platinum has been mined throughout history. In terms of how much it remains to be mined, I mean, the biggest resource, deposit in the world is what's called the Bushveld Igneous Complex in South Africa. And in effect, it's about 250 kilometers wide and 250 kilometers north-south. And all the South African mines have kind of been nibbling in away at the edge of it. The problem is that it's kind of disc-shaped and it's getting deeper and deeper. And so the flexibility and the cost of continuing to produce from it continues to go higher. So it becomes more and more challenging, and you need a better and better economic incentive to continue to go deeper and exploit those remaining resources. So in theory, there's plenty left, but you have to have the right economic incentive to extract that remaining metal.
Super. Thank you very much. And funnily enough, the last question I've just received was stating that somebody joined the meeting late, and is there a recording that I can view later? Yes, there is. This is fully recorded and will be available on the Royal Mint's YouTube channel tomorrow. So thank you very much for joining nonetheless. And yeah, you can see the full thing in detail on our YouTube channel tomorrow, as well as further webinars with the Silver Institute and the World Gold Council as well. Edward and Stuart, thank you very much for joining us this evening, taking your time to talk to us in detail about the platinum market. So thank you very much. And as I said, you can obviously follow the Royal Mint on our social media channels as well. As Stu alluded to on a couple of occasions, please do visit the World Platinum Investment Council website as well. There's so much material on there that will inform your investment decision and give you some market insights as well. But all that remains for me to say is thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.